Okay, and I put it on the cloud so that way I can send it over to you.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, generally, I just do a quick intro, just, hey, we have Abel from San Antonio, and then we can let it rip.
Okay. Anything specific that would help you the most? Like what are you doing all of this stuff for? And that way I can at least keep that in the back of my mind as we record.
Sure. So at least, this recording, it's for our YouTube channel and our social media, right? So we have a YouTube channel. It's all about real estate and construction, really just kind of bring in different minds. Some people do multifamily, construction, development, title, whatever it is, right? So really just looking to provide good value. And obviously, I have family in San Antonio. I'm familiar with the area as well. And a lot of our audience is here in Central Texas and San Antonio. So it'll be neat to kind of hear from someone like you, your perspective, just really on what you do and just the market in general, right?
Do you but are you doing it to like at the end of it, so that makes perfect sense, right? Are you doing exposure for a certain reason? Like are you trying to raise capital? Or are you trying to get clients? Are you trying to that kind of stuff?
All the above. Yeah, so really, I guess a bit about me. I've worked for a construction lender the past 2 years. So we went our separate ways as of 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, really just looking to kind of stay in that construction development sort of world. And then in addition to that, also kind of interested in multifamily. And I know there's a lot of at least people that I know personally who are interested in transitioning from single to multifamily, right? So that's why I thought it'd be neat to speak with you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm happy to have that conversation, help however I can.
Okay,
We
yeah,
did single
absolutely. But
family. We're doing one project I haven't broken ground on, but 156 units of new development. We're
mm,
doing another project, which is a build to rent, 98 units. And then we have most of the other stuff has been my transition from single family houses to multifamily apartment complexes.
I love it. I love it. Sounds good. But yeah, I mean, really just looking to provide, good value where we can, obviously networking with people. And yeah, that's about it.
Cool, man. All right. Well, whenever you're ready to let it rip, brother.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. I can hear you
Yeah, okay.
perfect.
Very good. All right. Three, two. What's going on, everybody? It is Aaron Trevino here. We have another wonderful guest from beautiful San Antonio, Texas. We have Abel Pacheco. How you doing, Abel?
Pretty good, Aaron. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know we were speaking about it earlier. I first connected with you about 2 years ago. I've really seen what you've been able to do with your brand. I admire it. I respect it. And, I'm glad to have you on the show today.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's it's good to know that somebody was there watching a couple years ago, man, just grinding things out. So it's
Yeah,
good to
it's
hear.
it's one it's one of those things that, it may sound cliche, but, sometimes your fans are the quietest ones.
Oh man, thank you again. Humbled, appreciative, and grateful. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Abel, so for those of us who aren't too familiar with you, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. So well, I'll start with my name. How's that? Abel Pacheco. I'm the president and principal of Five Talents Commercial Real Estate. We're an investment firm that helps other people take their hard-earned money and invest it in real estate without having to do any work. So we do this for double-digit returns and good tax benefits. And I've been in real estate for I think 13-ish years. Since 2008, we bought our first single family house, and me and my wife of almost 12 years plus now, with two little ones. We just live in San Antonio. I'm from Corpus Christi originally, so I grew up by the beach, and then now in the Alamo City. And I had a long run in tech, as did my wife. We invested the whole way through. So we took our hard-earned money and invested in real estate. But back then we were investing in real estate that we had to operate and be the landlord and manage rehab and construction, all the fun stuff while we were working full time. And then I just found a better way, which was multifamily. for me, it was my first entrance into commercial real estate, and man, I fell in love with it. So that's what we've been doing ever since. And now we're principals and general partners in about 1,000 doors. So 1,000 units, apartment complex units, doors, all this word's kind of synonymous. Just it's like $100 million of real estate over multiple different deals. And in an apartment complex, let's say there's 100 doors, we're total in about 1,000-ish. I'm a passive investor. Also, that's where I started. I started putting my own money into deals as a passive investor. And then now we're doing construction, new development, build to rent. So yeah, I'm excited about the run, and nice to meet everyone. And thanks for having me on.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love to hear it too. And one thing that spoke to me as well, I didn't realize you're from Corpus as well. I grew up in Corpus.
You did, Corpitos. I love it. One of the Corpus crew. What high school did you go to?
That's right, the Corpus crew. I went to King.
All right. Well, I went
Yeah.
to Carroll. For those that there's a good rivalry there, but there's only several schools, so small town to have a good rivalry on. Man, that's great. That's congratulations, and look, thanks for telling me. So another reason to stay connected here, Aaron.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny. There's always kind of that Corpus connection, especially in San Antonio. It's kind of that Corpus migration north to San Antonio.
Hmm. I've been looking for some apartment complexes in Corpus. One fell through our fingers. We had an LOI. I thought we were going to win it, but every once in a while we'll still look for some deals over there. And only primarily because the market's good, all the deals are good, all that good stuff. But then secondarily, I want to be able to say, yeah, I own a little piece of my hometown.
Yeah, no, and it's funny timing. I was actually having breakfast with someone here in Austin yesterday, and we were talking about Corpus, I guess, because I grew up there, familiar with the market. And I don't know, I don't know how it was for you, maybe you move away, out of sight, out of mind. You don't really think about, the market back home, but you kind of realize, wow, Corpus is actually a very strong rental market.
Super strong. Yeah, the supply for new housing is low. The average median income has is not drastically grown, but the housing cost, the cost of housing and living there is starting to rise, and all the new stuff that they're building is usually outside of the affordability area. It's like they're building the really nice new houses, and so that kind of leaves renters to just look for something, anything. And the supply there of apartment units is not the greatest. So it's a great opportunity for you to go in and buy something, improve it, create some value add, and create clean, comfortable, safe, good housing for people that are looking for just affordable living spots.
Yes, sir. That's absolutely right. And I'm curious as well. I know you mentioned you went to Carroll, you're from Corpus, obviously living in San Antonio now. Could you and I know you mentioned that you were in tech. Could you kind of briefly maybe talk about, you working in tech and then your eventual transition into real estate?
Yeah. So so I started working. Well, I've been a sales guy, so sales Johnny all my life. Commission only. I started working at Cutco Knives. I don't if anybody's familiar with Cutco, and I did in-home presentations for a number of years, and did that through college. Well, in that run, I was like, oh, I pretty decent at customer service and just talking with people, and I got comfortable, got out of my shell a little bit, and so that led me to a role in tech sales for a company called Rackspace, and that's here in San Antonio. When I started there in 06, there was like 500 or 600 employees. And when I left in 2016, there was 6,000 employees. It went from $100 million a year company to a $2 billion. So it was a literal tech unicorn. I was there for a number of years, and my sales org, so I started as a seller, individual, commission, grinding out, and then went to a manager, and then a senior manager, and then a director. And I think when I started, it was like about a $5 million book of business a year. And when I left, it was about a $57 million book of business a year that I left from, and had our exit there. And man, it was, it was just good all through that run. I'll tell you one thing that I really, almost like pushed me over the edge for real estate as you're asking me these questions. We're sitting at this boardroom table with some high level executives at Rackspace. And they're talking about the performance that we just finished. It was like December, Christmas, a big boardroom table. It might have been one of those Mad Men tables. If it was back in the 60s, we would have been smoking cigars or something. But like they're telling me, this is amazing. You had, this tremendous growth. We crushed it, 50 something million dollars a year. And I'm like, man, thank you. This is like some congratulatory meeting. And they were kind of saying that, but like just under my side, like a little jab. And I didn't know what it was. I know clearly what it was now. Everyone's kind of chuckling a little bit because my quota was going to get increased again. And they said, hey, you know what you just got yourself? What? It was like a quota increase. And we're going to want you to do more with less. We're going to give you a smaller territory. So you have to sell more within it. And, by the way, we're not going to increase your P&L budget, the part where it says, can I pay sellers more? My sales guys, there was about 60 people under me that I was in charge of. And I knew what that meant is come January, I'm going to either have to cut heads and cut some people off my team or tell everyone, hey, you're just getting a quota increase without extra pay. And I want you to do more with less. And that was one of the most uncomfortable, conversations that I've ever had because I could already see 2 or 3 steps on the way. And that conversation was one of the ones that led me to say, you know what, I've really got to figure out this real estate thing because up until that point, me and my wife we were taking our commissions, our income. We were living pretty, say humbly. We were living just kind of below our means as much as possible. Our house was 1,300 square feet, I think at most. I had an old car. My sales guys had nicer cars than I did. But we would take 25 or 30K, maybe 50 sometimes, and we would buy a single family house. And it would take us about a year or two to save up enough money to buy another house. I didn't raise capital. We didn't partner with anybody. We just kind of did it the slow way. And it took us, 10 years to buy 8 houses. But as soon as I found multifamily commercial real estate, we went from 8 to 800 doors while I was working full time at the end of this run. That the light bulbs go off and I go, oh, there's a different way. There's a model that I don't know about. Clearly, people are taking advantage of multimillionaires that are crushing it. Billionaires, I know that people make wealth in real estate. And I look back at my 10-year journey and I wasn't a millionaire yet. I go, well, what happened? Like, let me do the math. It's going to take me another 10 years and maybe I'll get $1 million. And that was just, it didn't work. And so that's what led me to multifamily syndication, working with investors, leverage, anyways, the whole way. So let me pause here because I know that was a long answer for a short question. Man.
No, absolutely, Abel. And I love it. It's, it's one of those things. What do they call it? You're kind of Abel was the workhorse and they're kind of dangling the carrot in front of you. And it's kind of like, oh, hey, great performance. Oh, increased quota. And then now you have these parameters and then you're looking around and thinking, wow, what do I do next? And then that's kind of your transition into, hey, we got to make this real estate thing work.
Mm-hmm. And, we had, I bet you like a lot of people through their corporate careers or professional careers or whatever they've done to take them to this point in their lives. Like, I'm really grateful for everything that the company gave me, like, good pay, good benefits, good living, all of that stuff is good. It's just not this great life that I really wanted to create. Good is different than amazing. Just so it's like, man, it was good living. I was like very appreciative. It taught me a lot. I use a lot of the skills, a lot of the training, a lot of the coaching, a lot of the mindsets about building teams and creating crew to kind of help us go have an amazing mission, all of us driving forward. But an employee is what you still are and what I was then, and it's 100% right, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, in a way, it's interesting, right? Because you could be a high level executive. Maybe it's a bit cushy for you. You have the benefits, you have the pay, but in a way, they're kind of golden shackles. And then, maybe you're lower on the totem pole, you're working your way up, you're grinded down, you're tired. What would you tell someone who's looking to make that transition, maybe from that 9 to 5 into, say, doing your own thing?
I would definitely say you don't have to make this massive switch all at once. You don't have to leave your corporate job today and go be an entrepreneur tomorrow, but make a slow and steady switch over. And the goal is to create passive income. So, in that switch, even today I do activities, even in my own business, that I would deem active capital creation. I go trade time for money in my business today, and I have to grind and I have to do the work. And in transparency, I work probably more hours today than I did then, right? But the part is, it's active capital creation says, here's money today that you traded time for money, and I have it in my pocket, and I've got to pay, these bills with it, right? I've got to go reinvest it. It's almost earmarked already for something in my daily budget, right? Well, what I do is I create enough active capital where I can take care of my daily bread, so to speak. And then there's an extra portion that I take off the table. If I was in Vegas and you're at the craps table, it's like, put those couple of chips in your pocket and do not put them back on the table. Okay, so you've taken some out. And when I have these chunks of usually $50,000, that's a minimum investment to get in one of our passive investments, right? It's like you put 50K and it's off the table. And to me, that off the table, there's still some risk to it because you're investing in real estate. Anytime you do that, there's risk, right? But what happens is that money works in, I don't have to manage that passive investment. I know an amazing team, an amazing model, an amazing operations, asset management, construction management, professional property man, all the things. Somebody's doing the work for me, and it's creating some of its own income on its own without me having to manage it. And the more that I can have that switch, create active capital and send some of it away as a passive investment, the more that I can do that over time, the passive investment gets larger and larger and larger. And I plant another seed and it gets even larger. And the more seeds that I plant, the bigger this money tree starts to grow and create more of the fruit that I'm looking for, which is passive income creation. Let's just water that tree. I don't want to have to go through the whole thing to plow it, get it going, just, hey man, it's already giving me fruit. And that's what I would tell people that are in the professional world is like, you don't have to make this big switch today. Just take some money off the table, spend a little bit less of your income that you're making, go invest it over time. And if it takes you 2 years before your next investment, so be it. The next one, it maybe only take you 1 year. And then when you start making more in the professional world, maybe you go from 60K to 100K. Now you're like, man, I can invest more. Maybe you go from 100 to 200 or 400. And you're like, now I'm going to take 200K off the table. Don't change your lifestyle. Don't make it a dramatic increase just because they gave you more at work. Keep your lifestyle the same and invest the rest. And eventually you'll have so much passive income that it creates one of those snowballs. We don't want a debt snowball. We want a passive income snowball. And that's the ticket for me. That's my advice.
Yeah, no, that's great insight there. And one parallel that you kind of drew on there was, using the word seed, right? So the seed, you're planting the seed, and, the seed needs good soil, the seed needs water, the seed needs air and sunlight and whatever else. It shows that it's a process, right? It's not an overnight thing.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely not get rich quick. That's for sure. It's everything comes in seasons. You have to just like nature, you have to plant today. Well, what goes into planting? I've got to literally break up the ground, sweat of my brow type of work. Let's grind it out. Then I've got a nice, field that's ready to plant. Then I got to do the work to plant it. And then I got to wait over time, got to water the sucker, put some nutrients, and then it does bloom. I still got to work to harvest it. Like it's not a quick, easy thing, but it's either that or what you end up at the end of your life and having to work for the rest of your life. And I would much rather work hard now in seasons and just do my thing. And then that way, at the end, we've got enough of that income coming in passively. So.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious as well, I know that you mentioned how you would put in money to doing your single family home projects. Maybe someone's in single family homes and they're looking to transition into multifamily. In terms of knowledge of where to even start, how would you suggest someone even takes that first step to transitioning to multifamily?
I tell people the same thing all the time. Invest passively first. So some people ask me, should I buy single family houses first? Should I try a flip? Should I try to do some of that? No, I don't recommend it. I say skip single family altogether. You don't have to know it. It's not going to help you as being a passive investor. If you're going to take time to learn how to have success in single family, like educate yourself, go learn how to do it. You might as well put the same time and effort and energy and learning into commercial real estate. It's going to provide you a bigger return with more money, bigger return with less time of your own time. So I always recommend just starting commercial real estate now, especially for some high level executives, people that make good money, people that are earning. Like if you're laying tile, you're painting, you're renovating, you're trading your $50, $75 an hour job for a $15 an hour job. It doesn't make any sense. So I say skip it all together. And then the way to go to multifamily is to passively invest first. Like, I would not be an advocate of trying to go lead a deal or put your own deal together on your own. I would not recommend that. If you are putting, whether it's your own money and you have $3 million and you can leverage, and if you have $3 million cash, you can go buy a $10 million building pretty realistically, and it can be your 100 units and you're going to make a lot of money. But if you've never done it before, I wouldn't put your $3 million into that and trust yourself that you're going to know how to do everything. Or if I don't have $3 million, but I figure out a way to raise capital, I can raise $3 million from others. I still wouldn't recommend you doing it by your own, because now all the other $3 million are, telling, like, do you trust yourself with $3 million of other people's money to have success? If you've never done it, no. So the best way to do it, in my opinion, is like put your own money up, be a passive investor first, put 50K into somebody else's passive investment. Not all of them are 50K, some of them are a little lower. However you get in, you get in. But just to be part of the ride, what happens is you see everything that's going on because you're an owner, you're a K1 business owner, you get good tax benefits. We want double-digit returns with no work and good tax benefits. And that's what you get as a passive investor. So you get to participate. You're on the field, you're playing, but you don't have to worry about, being the leader, the quarterback. It's like, hey, they're going to do all the work. And actually you get reports. Here's your monthly report. Here's what we did. Here's how it went. Here's the problem we had. Here's the issue. Here's the software. So you learn by default, picking up everything from that, even if you're super passive. And then some people go, I want to get involved and I want to go do that. I'm like, okay, well, good. If you want to go do that, the people that are going to invest with you, likely, if you're syndicating deals, they're going to want to know you've done it yourself. So it's kind of hard to say, well, I'm going to go do it, but I've never done it before. Trust me with your hard-earned money. That's really hard. So you want the easiest possible way, invest passively, get in the game, start to learn, educate yourself. There's amazing podcasts like Aaron's putting together, putting on this YouTube channel, putting on this education out there. I have a podcast. There's a ton of them. Just go check them all out, get some education, learn passively. You got a car ride, you can learn, and then pay for education. I'm a big fan of paying for education, paying for mentorship, paying for coaching. I've joined a bunch of programs. I've spent way too much money over the past couple of years, but it's fast forwarded me to another realm. And I'm like, okay, great. I get it. Invest passively, then join a deal as a small percentage partner on somebody else's deal, doing the work. And then once you're comfortable, then you can go lead a deal. So it's like a 3-step process. Invest passively, join someone else's deal as a small percentage partner, then you can go lead your own.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense, Abel. It's one of those things where it's easy to, to get eager and to be tempted to, I guess, bite off more than you can chew, right? But it kind of seems like there's no sense in reinventing the wheel if you
Yeah.
have access to maybe connecting to people, obviously, that mentorship, that coaching, the people who have maybe made mistakes and can, kind of show you the way, you may as well tap into that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. 100%, man. I've learned a ton of what not to do just by hanging around with other people that have been in it longer, and they'll tell you exactly, oh, don't do X, Y, and Z. I fell into that trap already. And you're like, oh man, taking notes, mental mental note, like literal note. Okay, don't do X, Y, or Z. And just by hanging around others that are already doing it, that's helps a ton.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, Abel. Well, is there anything that you haven't said thus far you'd really just like to hit home for us?
Um, besides, telling your audience, I have a couple things, right? So one, uh, your audience needs to know how much time, effort, and energy you put into giving them education, creating this platform, just doing it selflessly because you are giving away so much mindset, so much education, so much, paradigm. All this stuff is like, it it's great, but it takes you a lot of time to put it together. I know because I have a freaking podcast. I'm like, man, kudos to you, bro. That's amazing, man. I don't know if your audience really knows how much time, effort, and energy you put into it.
Yeah.
So
And I
thank you.
really appreciate the kind words. Thanks.
Yeah, man. How long have you been after this? Tell me a little bit about your journey real quick before I go.
Uh, yeah. I guess just with the podcast or
Oh, the whole thing, the whole
the whole
real
thing.
estate in general, brother.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I've always been interested in it. I've always thought, at least as a little kid, I always thought real estate was interesting. But
Mhm.
like many people, I always thought that, real estate is, buying and selling residential homes, right? I didn't see, there's someone who owns the car wash, there's someone who owns that apartment complex, there's someone, all these different things. I got my license, real estate license, doing apartment locating when I was in college, interned for a construction lender, later on worked for that construction lender. And then I started the podcast really after the, crazy March 2020 we had,
Me
right?
too. Me too.
Oh yeah, that's right. You as well.
Yeah.
So I guess I was, part of your little cohort or group of aspiring podcasters in March 2020, and just kind of built on that. And I guess here we are.
All right, man, that's awesome. Well, kudos to you, and your audience should know. Follow, like, subscribe, leave a written review for them. Do that. If you hear me somewhere, hey, I heard you on air in Trevino's, man, let me know. I'd be blessed to know that as well. But yeah, so that was one thing I just wanted to call out. But outside of that, man, a lot of it is just activity. um, People think it's I missed the first time. I'm not a real estate person. I'm like, yeah, I missed a bunch of times, right? It's like you just like anything else. If you want to be a great tennis player, play golf, and be good at it, you want to do, you know, be a great artist, a painter. You want to be an architect. You want to be a banker, CPA, whatever the goal is. You don't become a doctor overnight, a specialist by doing something for a short period of time and expecting these amazing results. What has to happen is you have to do this thing 100 times, 1,000 times. You have to miss a bunch of times, and then you have to do it enough times to where like it's just repetition now. It feels like the same thing over and over again. And essentially that's what real estate investing, is like. It's like, yeah, man, I've got to do it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And I'm not just talking about the act of buying a property. It's 100 steps leading up to that buying of property. It's your market analysis. It's your comps. It's a pro forma run through. It's, learning about an average rate of return, learning about return on investment. What is ROI? Googling what is ROI? What is accelerated depreciation? What is a cost segregation study? What is syndication? when you Google more of these terms and you start to learn, those are all active cycles that you need to dig into so that you can understand at least the 100 level layer of real estate. How do, Google, how do people make money in real estate? Let's start at some of the basic stuff. When you do that, all those cycles, that counts towards the 100 hours, towards the 1,000 hours, towards the, being an expert, and information education builds on it. I promise there's a ton of questions that I don't know how to ask today, or I wouldn't have ever thought about Googling today because I haven't learned them yet. And as I do more, I'm like, oh, let me Google that. That's a great question. I wouldn't have even gotten there if I had not done the 13 years of real estate in advance before me. So it doesn't happen quickly. It doesn't happen overnight. But I promise if you keep doing it, you'll get to the point where you can ask better questions from others. You can get some education, mentorship, coaching. You can pay for it and advance yourself, or you can do it on your own. That's the two paths that I always tell people, and they go, well, how do I get some more education? A lot of people say, well, where do you go for your education? I'm like, man, everywhere. The internet, people, conferences, meetups, virtual meetups, in person, all the different things. I'm asking a bunch of questions, but to me, it kind of boils down to two paths. I can pay for education, and I'm going to get the nugget that I needed, and I can go apply it tomorrow. Or I don't pay for it and I consume it, like on these, watching these videos, right? There may have been one thing that I said in the 30-minute conversation, and they're like, that's the nugget I needed. Well, you have to take 30 minutes to go through it and find the nugget that you can go apply. And that's why it's free, right? It's like, hey, we're talking about a bunch of other stuff, right? So you can do it for free. It's going to take you longer. It'll require more of your time, effort, energy, or you can pay for it and fast forward it. And if you don't have capital, like, that's okay, man. Go create active capital. Go create something, code something. Today, you have apps, you have all this virtual stuff, you have applications, systems, processes. You can create something and go sell it. And then it starts to create capital on its own. You take some off the table and go invest it in yourself. Invest in yourself first before real estate. And I would say, man, if you're going to do that, it's bigger, longer conversation for that whole thing, but hopefully that helps somebody here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Wonderful insight there, Abel. Maybe someone's listening, they're in San Antonio, they're in another part of Texas, or maybe they're in another part of the country. They want to get in touch with you. Where can we find you?
Yeah, go to our website is probably the easiest, 5tcre.com. It's the number 5, T like talents, CRE like commercial real estate, 5tcre.com/invest. They can put in some contact information. They can set up a time to talk with me. Man, a lot of these points that we talked about, some of them are on an ebook that we have on our website. We've got educational resources. We used to do webinars during COVID every couple of weeks. We save those on our website. We have meetups. We have, a number of different places to actually get a hold of me. We have an events page. So all the places that I've been speaking at, or I host, or be one of the panelist speakers or whatever, those are usually on our website as well. So a number of different spots. And yeah, if you guys are local in San Antonio, let me know. We can go get a coffee or a cigar. And if you're in Austin, it's right up the road. So we'll hang out sometime, Aaron. I look forward to maybe getting in touch in person and shaking your hand more than the virtual part of it. But yeah, thanks, brother.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Definitely looking forward to that, Abel. It's been a heck of a conversation. Really enjoyed it. I think a lot of values there, and it was great to kind of get to know you a bit more, kind of about, what you've done and, what you're going to do in the future. So it's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Have a good one. All right. What do you think?
It was good, man. Let me stop this recording.